Ole Miss quarterback Jaxson Dart is one of the most polarizing names in the 2025 NFL draft class. On today's episode, I'm going to break down the team that I think best fits him and helps him reach his high ceiling. We'll talk about that and more coming up next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an offensive draft analyst over with Bleacher Report. And guys, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every single day, being our everydayers. On today's show, perfect pairings, the best place for Jaxson Dart to develop and reach his high ceiling, Omarion Hampton's best landing spot in the 2025 NFL Draft, and a new topic on today's show, Fan Mail Friday. We're going to get into all of that. But first, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 back in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Jaxson Dart, quarterback for Ole Miss. I believe he's the leading the top passing quarterback in Ole Miss history. Came into the Senior Bowl, weighed and measured in at 6'1", 7/8", 226 pounds, 9.5 inch on the hands. So he passes the threshold for hand size. And this is a guy that, again, one thing that we know about Jaxson Dart, he's put up a lot of numbers, and he's done well in that scheme that Lane Kiffin has designed, right? But we've seen this before. Me and Kidd have talked about it, the Matt Corral situation. We've seen it before, but it's like, is Jaxson Dart a better version of this? I think he is, and I think he can be. I believe he has a high ceiling. Now it's all about getting him to where he can really mature into that potential franchise-changing quarterback. Again, on the season, real quick, guys, numbers-wise, 4,200, almost 4,300 yards passing, 29 passing touchdowns to 6 interceptions, and he also added 3 rushing touchdowns and 648 yards rushing as well through the ground. So he's a dual-threat guy that has good athleticism. He's got a good arm, different arm slots and arm angles, can whip. He has a nice snappy release, all those things. What the best landing spot, in my honest opinion, is going to be Brian Daboll and the New York Giants, but not with the 3rd overall pick. There's no way I'm taking him top 10. I can't do that, especially with the question marks from not so much an IQ standpoint, but a processing standpoint, how quickly you can get through your reads. I always say this, man, when I look at quarterbacks and I think about landing spots and everything like that, guys, I think about, okay, putting him with a specific team, does it fit? Can they develop him, right? We watched this with Bo Nix this past season, with the Denver Broncos. Okay, putting him with Sean Payton allowed him to just play his best game. Sean Payton implemented some college schemes, college concepts and stuff that made him more comfortable. You look at what Bryce Young was able to do this year after being benched with Dave Canales. What was Bryce able to do? He was able to play good football and get better. Now, will he ever be first overall good? I don't know. I have my doubts on that. But Dave Canales and Bryce Young seem like a match made in heaven because Canales has been able to build that offense that fits Bryce Young and his strengths. I think, and we've seen Brian Daboll do this with Daniel Jones. The reason why Daniel Jones got paid $40 million a couple of seasons ago is because of that one good season he had where the numbers weren't even that outstanding, to be completely honest. Like, the numbers weren't like jaw-dropping numbers, but it was his best season to date. I believe that was it was the 2022 season. 3,200 yards passing over. He had a 67% completion percentage, 15 passing touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Yes, the New York Giants paid a guy that threw 15 touchdowns in his best overall season, $40 million. I think Brian Daboll, because I think with that 3rd overall pick, unless one of the top 2 fall to you, right? But in this scenario, they don't. Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders off the board before 3. Okay, the New York Giants are sitting there. They say, let's go best player available. Let's go ahead and go with, because maybe, and this is a twofold thing. They could take Abdul Carter, edge rusher from Penn State, who a lot of people now after the playoff run say he's the best player in the draft. Or you can go with the guy that they had previously said was the best player in the draft, Travis Hunter, the do-it-all corner wide receiver hybrid, and you can just work off of that with the first overall pick. If you take Abdul Carter, if you're the Giants, you have to trade out of that situation. Oh, not trade out of the situation, but you might move you just paid Brian Burns. You might trade a Kayvon Thibodeau then. Trade Kayvon to a team, Baltimore Ravens, somebody that needs a go-to pass rusher that's still in a rookie contract. Boom, you make that trade. Maybe you get an extra second or third round pick for it. Okay. I think he's like battled injury or whatever, and the production hasn't been consistent. So cool. You trade him off now. You replace him with Abdul Carter. But if you don't do that, you draft Travis Hunter. You get yourself a bookend corner and a guy that can come in on 20 plays and play wide receiver for you. Unless you just want to draft Travis to be a true wide receiver, and you get your guy in terms of this situation, Jaxson Dart, second round, maybe top of the second, right? You know what I mean? Maybe you trade back a little bit, maybe trade up, who knows? But top of the second round, and then or whatever the case would be on day 2. And let me look. I want to look at the Giants draft picks real quick, like to make sure I have this correct. But yeah, like if it's that situation, yeah, you draft him. You draft him in on day 2. Yeah, they have the 34th pick. So they have the second pick. They have like the second pick in the second round, right? So you get him to the top of the second, Jaxson Dart. Bring him into New York, pair him with Brian Daboll. You have Malik Neighbors. You have Wan'Dale Robinson. You have Theo Johnson. You have Tyrone Tracy in the backfield. Okay, bringing in the Travis Hunter, whether he's a corner wide receiver, you get your instant impact player and a high ceiling impact player at that. And now your offense and your defense, you change things and you reshape it in the mold and image. Now, there were people at one point that were comparing Jaxson Dart to Josh Allen. Let's not compare it. Listen, because Keith does it on the positive times. Will Howard is not Josh Allen. Like, he's not Josh Allen light. He's not the poor man's version. Nobody is Josh Allen, right? But the point is, you get a guy that has all the high tools and traits, and he can run. He's got a good arm, all the different things like that. He does know how to toggle between velocity and touch and layering passes. We've seen that on film, and you see it at the Senior Bowl. Yeah, I think you bring him in and you allow him to, and we said this the other day during the trucks, hitches, and trailers conversation. I want Jaxson Dart to be a hitch out the gate. You just gel everything together. You just play sound football, manage the game, learn how to be a pro, all those good things. And then when it's time, then we try to develop you into that truck. And I think Brian Daboll is probably the best, especially in the other team is the Los Angeles Rams. If they were to trade Matthew Stafford, Stetson Bennett's not the answer. And I think they know that. We know that. I think everyone understands that. So you still need a franchise quarterback that's young, a young new face of the franchise. And maybe the Rams, even if you don't trade Stafford, right? Second round, day 2 of the draft, if our guy Jaxson Dart is slipping down the board a little bit, and you're the Los Angeles Rams, I think actually the Rams don't have a second round pick. They should have a third. I think they traded that second to the Carolina Panthers, if I remember correctly. Yes, they have pick 90. I don't think he lasts to 90, but if he fell to 90, perfect. Make the play, make the call, do what you have to do. Maybe you trade down for where you are in round 1 and get a second round pick, things of that nature, and still have a first. But nonetheless, I think the best situation for Jaxson Dart, like, it's the two teams. It's 2 teams, in my opinion, and it is the New York Giants with Brian Daboll calling plays. We've seen what he's done with Josh Allen, what he's done with Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa when he was at Alabama. We've seen what he's done with Daniel Jones. And if he doesn't land in New York, I think for him, in my opinion, what I would love for him to be, situation I would love for him to be in is with Sean McVay, learning behind Matthew Stafford for a year, right? Where you then let Matthew Stafford walk off in the free agency. Maybe you get rid of him, whatever the case may be. Let him learn behind Matthew Stafford and allow him to be that big-time quarterback for your future. And then with Sean McVay, Puka Nacua, they add some more weapons, things of that nature. Maybe you get the trade with Devontae Adams with the Jets, and now 2027, you got Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell, add a tight end. This offense could still, like, post Matthew Stafford. That's the thing. A lot of teams, sports teams, basketball and the NFL, they don't plan for the future. When you have an aging star, You don't plan for what happens when that time comes that this guy is no longer with the organization and he's getting ready to retire. So that's my best places for Jaxson Dart. The New York Giants, day 2. The Los Angeles Rams, day 2. I don't suggest either one of them take him first round. Use those first round picks on instant impact players that will help make his job a lot easier. But guys, coming up next, we'll get into my RB1B, Omarion Hampton out of North Carolina, the Tar Heels star running back. What's a good landing spot for him where he can be an impact rookie? We'll talk about that coming up next. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or you just want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my Detroit Pistons for a late-game comeback or picking my star point guard, Cade Cunningham, to hit a clutch 3, I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app is super easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 back in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. North Carolina Tar Heel running back Omarion Hampton. This is a guy that is, again, he is my RB1A. I'm telling you, there's like point decimal, a tenth of all that. All right, DP doesn't do math, but all of that in terms of the differential in grades between him and Ashton Jeanty right now for me over at Bleacher Report. Guys, Omarion Hampton, 6'1", 220, 281 rushing attempts this year, 1,660 yards rushing, 6 yards per attempt, 15 rushing touchdowns. He only had 1 fumble this year, which he improved from 3 fumbles last year. Leave it last year, guys. 2 back-to-back seasons, over 1,500 yards rushing. Yes, with 15 touchdowns, 100%. But he's not just a runner. He's a functional receiver out of the backfield. 38 receptions this year, 373 yards receiving. Okay, 373 receiving yards, 10 yards per reception, 2 receiving touchdowns. I'm telling you now, Omarion Hampton is an absolute dude. He is a tank. He's built. He's strong. He's like from top to bottom. This is a guy that has a filled-in frame. He's going to be able to run with that physicality. And you think about a team that needs to improve the run game a little bit, right? And again, I don't know. There's no true first-round ideal landing spots, right? I don't think I would say Omarion Hampton and Ashton Jeanty or Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson, where you have to force them into round 1. But you think about teams that could potentially be fits, 100%. You think about and you look at the Los Angeles Chargers at pick 22. Excuse me. At pick 22. Honestly, the Minnesota Vikings at pick 24 is a sneaky landing spot for him, right? The Washington Commanders at pick 29. Also a very sneaky landing spot. All right, but if you go down into round 2, there's a team that's got the 39th pick via the Carolina Panthers in that trade with Bryce Young, the Chicago Bears. Let's go ahead and go round 1, get a Will Campbell, get a Gray Zib, get one of these top offensive linemen to protect Caleb Williams, right? What do we say? Protect the investment, okay? Protect the investment. And that's what I'm going to do with that first pick, which I think their pick is like 9, 10, somewhere there. I think they have the 10th pick, if I remember correctly. Let me, double check, but I think they have like the 10th pick. Scroll up here. Yes, they have the 10th pick. So use that 10th pick on offensive line. Boom. Cool. I'm good with that, right? I'm great with that. Now, what do we do? Second round. Listen, DeAndre Swift, solid player. More of an RB2 in my opinion, right? The Detroit Lions moved on from him to get Jahmyr Gibbs. They haven't looked back since. I think the Philadelphia Eagles, they moved on from him to get Saquon Barkley. They definitely didn't look back. Won the Super Bowl, right? And Saquon had a 2,000-yard season, almost broke the rushing record. Okay. So again, I'm not saying that he is the catalyst by having him and then moving on from him to get better as a running team. But I will say this. He's a functional, solid RB2. Catch the ball in the backfield, nice jitterbug. He's a good runway guy, can make guys miss, in the alley, one-on-one, things like that. But he's not a true bell cow. Omarion Hampton, from North Carolina, 6'1", 220, is a bell cow. North Carolina did not have Drake May this year. Drake May was in Boston, Massachusetts, with the New England Patriots. Was it One Patriots Way, the address there? That's where he was playing ball in 2024. Okay, during the 2024 season, the quarterback situation around Omarion Hampton was not great, and he was playing good competition. Defensively, they knew he was the guy, but still, yet he was able to churn out time and time again 100 yards, 200 yards, 150, 170, 180. He only has 2 games this season where he didn't rush for over 100 yards. Omarion Hampton is that good. And I think the Chicago Bears will be the ideal team on day 2 that says, you know what? Bring him in. Bring him in. Now, there's one other team in front of them, okay, that could snipe him, and that's the Cleveland Browns. Okay, Nick Chubb got hurt 2 years ago, came back during the middle part of the season. Okay, he got hurt in 2023, came back in the middle of 2024, got hurt again. Not ideal, right? Another leg injury. Okay, not ideal. Okay, so you want to build this running back situation up. And if the Cleveland Browns go quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, what I want to see for both of those quarterbacks is an offense that is going to be predicated on balance. Both of these guys have been high-octane passers and throwing the ball 30, 40 times a game. No, let's nix that. Get the run game going. Get some under-center stuff going. Let them manage the game as rookies, man. Let's stop putting so much, hey, go be a Adonis. Okay, let's lift up the world on the shoulders. Let's go be a Greek god. Now let's end all that talk. Let's end that. Okay, let's stop that, man. I think Omarion Hampton, the Cleveland Browns, or the Chicago Bears is a 100% smash hit, in my honest opinion. It's a hit. Now, of course, that's 66. The Kansas City Chiefs via that trade with the Titans. The Chiefs are sitting there like, hey, Pacheco was solid, but he's not a long-term answer. Maybe. Could we see the Chiefs 66 say, you know what? Oh, that's third round. Sorry. We see the Chiefs go ahead and make that decision, and second round as well. If the Chiefs or first round, that could again, like we've been forcing these running backs in the first round. I do think the Chiefs are a sneaky spot at the back end of the first round, pick 31, to be a team that snatches a running back, one of the top 2. But again, the Cleveland Browns have 33, right? The Chicago Bears have 39, like 39 and 41. Okay, they have 2 second-round picks. They had listen, Bears, you can't mess this up, dog. You can't do it, man. You cannot mess this up. I think if you do what you're supposed to do, get offensive line round 1, right? Maybe you go, I said running back, get another defender. All right. And then they, third round, fourth round, you add some more ancillary receiving pieces. And then you feel like you're cooking with gas there. Feel like you're cooking with gas. And you allow Caleb to, same thing with Caleb, right? I'm talking about Shedeur and Cam Ward. I want Caleb Williams to be able to have not just a functional run game, a strong run game, right? Strong run game, under center, handing the ball off, play action, boot action. And with his running ability, what does that create? A natural RPO, run pass option with him on a naked boot, because you keep running it hard enough and keep running it enough. Those linebackers forget that Caleb Williams is a mobile quarterback. They're trying to stop Omarion Hampton, who's averaging 5 yards a pop. Okay, that's what running the ball can do. Even though a lot of the analytics crowd say, yeah, you pass to set up the run. I'm not subscribing to that, man. Run the ball. Run the freaking ball, okay? Run it. As simple as that. Run it, man. Like throwing the ball 40 times a game and all that stuff. It's not the greatest idea. Okay, run the ball. I'm not saying be a 50-50 split, but I'd rather it be 60-40, passing 60, running 40, and the defense knows that they have to play you honest. Because if you're 80-20, they know that you're not running it. So they're going to game plan for your passing attack. So when I think about the teams that And the best landing spot for my guy, Omarion Hampton, my RB1B, I think it's the Chicago Bears at pick 39, unless the Cleveland Browns say we need to find an heir apparent to Nick Chubb, and we need to do that right away at the start of day 2. But guys, coming up next, we're going to get into Fan Mail Friday, a new topic where we're going to answer some of the questions that you guys submitted on Twitter. I'll give you the handles for who asked the question, and I'll give you my thoughts on the question. That and more coming up next. Football season may be over, but the basketball season is in full swing, and there's no better way to stay in the game than with PrizePicks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With PrizePicks, you just pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. Guys, it's super easy, okay? You can pick Cade Cunningham for more than 20 points. You can make those simple picks in less than 60 seconds, right? You can set your lineup in less than 60 seconds, and that's the best part because PrizePicks is easy, and their withdrawals are fast and secure. So I can get my winnings in as little as 15 minutes. Plus, they have weekly promos that I love, like Taco Tuesday, where you get discounted player projections for even better value. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's the code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. It is Fan Mail Friday. Guys, let's get into it. And first question came from Phil John at Posh Plays FF. He says, this was an awesome idea. His question was, can you guys look at one of my favorite players in the class, Kyle Monungai? May look at how you see him projecting to the next level, and then some scheme fit and opportunity fits. I'm a Raven fan. He says, I'm a Ravens fan, and annoyingly, he screams Steeler to me. No, I agree with that, right? He kind of reminds me a little bit of Jaylen Warren. I think his skill set translates well to the league. I think with Kyle Monungai, he was a guy that I had as a high second-round pick coming out of the summer scouting series. And, for him, with Kyle, this is a guy that has a low center of gravity. He runs hard. He runs strong, runs well behind his pads. He's listed at 5'9", 210, probably more like 205. This year, I think he had some injuries, but he still ran for over 1,200 yards, 5 yards a pop, 13 rushing touchdowns, 0 interceptions, back-to-back seasons of 1,200 or more rushing yards from 2023 and 2024. He even upped his rushing touchdowns to 13 from 8 in 2023. But he also is, folks, they don't throw the ball to him enough. I think this is a guy, when you look at what Kyron Williams has done in the Los Angeles, right, with the Rams, he's made it kind of a thing where you can get these smaller sub 5'10" running backs that may not have the blazing 4.3 speed, 4.4 speed, but they have the nuance, the patience, the footwork, the vision, all those things. The run physicality, he it's crazy because when you see him run the ball, Kyle Monungai, he totes it, he tucks the ball between his arm. He runs with the ball for security purposes, similar to late career Tiki Barber with the New York Giants. So I think scheme fit for him. This is a guy that has the patience to fit, in multiple run schemes, whether it's gap, zone. But I think he's more so suited for that wide zone, which is great, right? You think about the Minnesota Vikings, be able to get him round 3, maybe potentially round 4. They're running that wide zone, put him behind in the depth chart, right behind Aaron Jones, who still has good football in the tank. Okay, and he learns how to be a pro from Aaron Jones. He becomes maybe their number one running back, and then you draft a bigger back maybe the following year. Or grab one in free agency it's an undrafted free agent, and that's your 1-2 punch after this, going into 2027, after you let Aaron Jones walk or his contract expires. So yeah, shout out to Phil John again at Posh Plays FF. Appreciate that question about Kyle Monungai, one of my favorite running backs in this class. My guy Daniel Harms over with the Draft Network in Harms Way 19. If there's a defensive back who can surprise people during the combine, improve his draft stock, maybe into day 2, send people back to the tape, who am I putting my money on? That is a good question, Dan. I think in this in this cornerback class, right? I think the combine is going to be where people really go and check the tape. After the combine is where the tape's going to be checked. And I think a guy that could absolutely help himself is going to be my guy over with this is me and Dan's guy. Actually, Dan likes him too. Noel Williams from Cal, 6'1", 200 pounds. I think Noel goes and runs 4.4, jumps 37, 38, looks good in the field drills, turns his hips well. I think that's a guy. And then I don't think he might be viewed by some people as an early day 3 pick. I have him as like third round, right? Second, third round, somewhere in there. I think he could cement himself as that day 2 pick with a strong showing in Indianapolis at the NFL Scouting Combine. We have Captain DDTX, DD Raider. Do you think a Daniel Jones free agency pick and drafting Will Howard getting Will Howard in the draft works with Chip Kelly? Would you rather draft Graham at defensive tackle or Johnson at cornerback at 6? So it's a 2-part question. I do think if Daniel Jones is a free agent, Daniel Jones is better than Aiden O'Connell. He's better than Gardner Minshew. Physically, everything. I'd rather you could do more with him than you could do with them. So if you're going to take a flyer on a bridge quarterback, it's to me, yeah, if Daniel Jones is free agency, you give him a 1-year prove-it deal. Maybe he tries to Sam Darnold his way to have a strong season, getting the ball to Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers and everything like that. And I think they have Trey Tucker as well. Run using his legs, all that stuff. Maybe you unlock him a little bit more, get him back to that 2022, 2023 season? I think it's 2022. To where he's running the ball, he's throwing the ball. Not saying he leads them to the playoffs, but remember, he led the Giants to the playoffs with the way he played and everything and how Brian Daboll called it. So I think for the first part of your question, if you can get him in free agency, then draft Will Howard on day 2, whether that's second or third round. That's to me, that's a really good situation, right? That's a really good situation. Tom Brady is going to be very involved, I expect, on the QB search and what they do with that. So I do think that's a really good fit. And with Chip Kelly, he knows what makes Will Howard tick, and he knows what he's good at. And again, we talked about it at the beginning of the show, the Bo Nix, Sean Payton thing. Sean Payton knew what it took to get Bo Nix where he needed to be and how to call plays for him, to make him comfortable and make him play at a high level. Guess what? That really should be the blueprint. Forget your scheme. Like if you draft a guy and you know he does specific things well, I don't know. Seems like a foreign concept, NFL. Run the things that the guy's comfortable with. I don't know. I'm just a guy who scouts and does a podcast. But that's all I am. For your second part of the question, would you rather draft Graham at D-tackle or Johnson at corner? This is tough. I would say go Johnson. Get yourself a bookend corner. I don't care about none of the leaks of, NFL's not high on him. Yeah, okay, whatever. Don't really care. I'm drafting him top 10. This guy is good. He takes the ball away. He can cover. Got to play off coverage, play press man, play zone. He's got good hips, good footwork. Don't overthink it. Couch Rider Raven, Alfie JL, ALFIE JL on Twitter. Where do you have Savion Williams going? Like what round into who? Who do you like better between him and Pat Bryant and why? Savion, I think, is going to be a third. Listen, Dan asked about the combine. Savion didn't come to Senior Bowl, but I expect him to go and kill the combine. This is an explosive 6'4", 225-pound athlete that's going to probably leap out the gym and run sub 4.45. I think he's going to hit 4.4 flat. He hits that maybe 4.38. Oh, my God. Like, yeah, he's going to land himself early, like in that good day 2 spot, mid day 2, bottom of the second, top of the third. And, think about teams that absolutely need wide receivers, man. I'm not going to lie. Third, if he fell to the third, I wouldn't be against the Jacksonville Jaguars at 70, doubling up and pairing him with Brian Thomas Jr. I think I just talked about the Raiders. I think the Raiders could add him to that situation. You know what I mean? You look at the Chiefs, and they're constantly building their team up, right? Especially the offensive side of the ball. I think that could be a good fit. Also, the New Orleans Saints in the third round, too, because they have Chris Olave, they have Rashid Shaheed. Just get some size, 6'4", 225, explosive athlete. Get some size into your passing attack. And I like him more than I like Pat Bryant. I think he has a higher upside. I watched Pat Senior Bowl. The athletic profile bothers me a lot. I have a 4th round grade on Pat, and he didn't move it. I still like him as a possession style wide receiver, football skills, catch radius, all that good stuff. And he is a solid route runner. It's just a lack of actual athleticism and burst and all that type of stuff. That's what bothers me probably the most with Pat Bryant. So I would take in Savion Williams. He's got to hit the jugs machine. He's not a natural pass catcher, and you don't want to have another Quentin Johnson situation. As much as I was rooting for Quentin, I don't want that situation to happen again. But guys, listen, that's time. Any questions that I didn't get on this week of Fan Mail Friday, we'll be back next week, guys, and I'll run it over like rollover minutes from back in the 90s. Some of y'all too young for that, baby. Some of y'all too young for the cell phones that had rollover minutes. Right? The Black Pearl. What y'all know about that, man? I'll just age myself so bad on this pod. Let me go ahead and close this thing out. Thank y'all. Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. We talk Fan Mail Friday, Omarion Hampton's landing spot, the best place for Jaxson Dart to develop in the NFL. Guys, thank you so much for tapping in with me and being our everydayers. Come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.